So my daughter is riding her bike and she gets to the part that some guy driving by threw something at her and I start to get alarmed. It was a drive-by quarter throwing. Some guy threw coins at you like a lousy stripper tipper. Like you asked him for anything. I want to go back to yesterday, smash the hood of his car in with a bat that I've conveniently got with me. I tell him as we drive to get him home. We've been on the road since it was too early to even think about breakfast. He's told me about what he's growing and smoking. We talked about his son for the first time in years, his chickens. He's just explained his philosophy on dog rearing, right at the exit that takes us downtown. We pull to a stop at the tracks. We wait for the graffiti train to pass. Tights aren't pants, he says. What? Tights aren't pants. Oh, please, not the tights aren't pants thing. You should only show what you're willing to have a stranger touch. What the? It's like I'm walking around with Pinky and seeing these little 12-year-old girls in shorts that show the bottom of their cheeks hanging out. What are their dads thinking? Okay, I get that, but when I wear a tank top, I have to be ready for dudes to hit on me. He tends to get hit on a lot by men. Guys already put in their place. Man, I'm not interested, you know that. But I show up in a tank top and it's like they forget. They see skin and they forget. We see skin and we forget. That's like saying a woman is responsible for her rape because she was wearing a skirt. Well, the lady in the car next to us must see us. Two grown-ups yelling, gesticulating, a spectacle on mute airing live beside her. And that whole thing about only showing what you're willing to have someone touch, that's BS. I've been catcalled, hit on, ogled when I was fully dressed. He starts to interrupt. No, I was wearing a freaking puffy coat and sweats. My head was even covered. So you can't tell me that's different. That's creeps. They don't care what you're wearing. The tail of the train passes us and the crossing gates lift. Bump, front tires cross. Bump, back tires. We stand next to the car. Now we're two people saying goodbye. He has time to smoke one last cigarette. I have time to kiss him quick on the cheek. I watch until he steps into the bus.
Non sequitur. First time I clearly remember seeing a female skater posted on the barracks Instagram was of Raisa Wheel. She was probably between 8 and 10 at the time. In the clip, she was heel flipping a forced air in a fairy costume. I remember watching her roll up, blue fairy costume on, blue tutu, blue mesh fairy wings, blue wand in hand, and a silver tiara on her head. Remember how good the heel flip was. Her front foot flicked the nose and poked fully forward, extended. Her back foot hovered, waiting for the board to rotate into the catch, and in that moment she was a ninja kick silhouette dressed in a fairy costume. She rode away with control that seemed too mature for her age and right into Instagram fame. Barracks exploded with comments, flame emojis, and hearts. People applauded young Raisa, and she has, in the past few years, continued to be reposted by the barracks and grow into a recognized face in skateboarding. While Raisa's reception was so positive, it is often the female skaters who the barracks post do not get so well regarded. In another recent post by the barracks, they shared footage of Kata Diaz. She had multiple clips, ollies over some gaps, a big spin front board on a flat bar, a tray flip down a 5-set, and a bail. Yet Kata's footage was not so well received as Raisa's had been. The comments section ignited with male skateboarders calling into question the barracks' integrity as a major skate media platform. Scrolling through the comments is a text assault filled with male skaters in an uproar that the standard for female skaters to be shared by the barracks is lower than the standard for males. They claim that the barracks is posting skateboarding that isn't good enough when they post females. These charges lead me to ask, what should the barracks be posting? What is the standard that the comments section calls into question, and why isn't refuting the backlash of this sexism more obvious?
Waking up to another day. There is distance between me and my camera, although one is always strapped to my thigh. I perform a more personified method, closing shutters in my mind. A primitive form of capture, cataloging, in my brain. This advancing leads to losses, or maybe my memories weren't meant for remembering. Sometimes I fear the hippocampus assassin is shaking from within, threatening to dry up the waterline. If a man falls in the world and doesn't make a sound, did his earth even exist at all? Is life measured by the perseverance of a moment or the perception of love through a lens? I hear the neurotoxic ocean. The past are past, and maybe they should lie like that. These images formed from chemicals have a tendency to drip. Thank you very much.
The clock ticked 3:57 p.m. Servers leaned against the counters on both sides of the restaurant's alleyway, scrolling through Instagram and Snapchatting. Addie, with her gloved hands in the pockets of her apron, stared through the heated window at the line guys as they scrambled to fill everything up in the 3 minutes before opening. Friday nights, without fail, started with a bang. There was no leeway between unlocking the doors and the ruthless dinner rush. Addie scanned the faces in the back, Henry mashing the potatoes, Javier's music wafting from cold prep, the 3 line guys setting up their spaces. They were all masked as per the health department's demands, but they jostled together in the small space, sliding around each other to get what they needed, laughing and horsing around with no care for social distancing. And there he was, pushing open the door to the meat room, maroon beanie low on his forehead. He must have been cutting meat, donning a hoodie under his apron even though it averaged 100 degrees in the kitchen. Cutting meat meant he'd been in the meat room, basically a freezer, for hours before it opened, trapped in a cold isolation while the rest of them sweated in the hotness of the grills and the ovens and the heat lamps of the steakhouse. Addie's heart did a stupid flip and she stepped to the left, shifted her attention. The window had already had the metal bin of fries in it. The clock ticked another minute. Her legs pressed against the little refrigerator compartment under her station. The alley flooded with bodies. The whole night shift had shown up at once. Although Addie knew she wouldn't see most of them for the rest of the night, the claustrophobia of so many people breathing the same air exists in a space too small for the amount of bodies stressed her out. She pulled at the edge of her blue gloves, scooted her mask a little bit further up her nose, and navigated through the servers that blocked the 5 steps to the broiler/baker room. She leaned against the entry with her hands clasped behind her. The broiler that day, her original trainer, threw her a smile. "Hey, Addie!" he exclaimed. "Hi, Webb." She flinched and laughed as he clapped the tongs at her. "Ready for tonight?" "Oh, yeah." He rolled his eyes and played with the blue mask around his chin. John called out again. "I'll watch for browse then," she joked. It's what they called steaks cooked to the wrong temps, and if Webb was going at a Friday night alone, she was going to be sending back lots of 2 rares and 2 well-dones. Another minute passed. With 3:59 blinking down the alley, tables were escorted back by the chatty hostesses, lips and noses carefully covered by a rainbow of required masks to "Stop the Spread, Idaho." Butter rolls glittered at the baking station under the red-shaded light. Addie mingled back to the window. It was like she dived into a sea of bodies, everyone crammed next to her in her space, popping her bubble. She fiddled with the top of her black mask again, making sure it was covering her nose and not tucked in around her cheeks. The cheese in her station looked a little dry. Had it not been properly sealed last night? She shifted the dry strands of cheese into the rest of the container. The clock struck 4. Immediately, the scree, scree, scree of printing receipts echoed from Broil, Point, and Fry. Someone had just been waiting to press send online for to-goes. Speaking of someone shouted "corner," and the cold prepper rounded the blind corner from the front of the alley, carrying a to-go slip ready to be cold packed.
The last thing Laura could remember before she blacked out was her mother screaming her name. It was filled with such pain and fear that it broke her heart just hearing it. For what seemed like weeks afterwards, she could hear it echoing through the darkness, slicing through her consciousness, tearing her apart. And when it stopped, the dream came. In the dream, she was stuck in a dark room with vines covering the walls, hiding every piece of the wall from view. She sat on a small wooden chair covered in roses, wrapping around her hands as makeshift cuffs. She was wearing a long white dress made from the finest silk. It was short-sleeved with lavender blossoms sewn through the cloth in a flowing pattern. The skirt of the dress was made of thin fabric stacked together to create something that a ballerina would wear during a performance. A voice whispered through the room like a breeze on a long summer day, so silent that you couldn't tell what it said or who was saying it. Once the breeze was gone, darkness so great that it had become a sort of monster surrounded her, ripping her beautiful dress and leaving her in rags. The darkness was almost like a black hole, constantly trying to suck her in. It was full of hate and all things evil. It brought back that scream that had haunted Elora for days. All she could do was tremble as the inky blackness of the darkness fell over her. The darkness would circle her and scratch her until she was paralyzed with the fear of it, and then it would just disappear in a cloud of smoke, starting the dream once again.
I'm sitting at a desk, notebook out, pen uncapped, when the professor pulls up the PowerPoint. The title is Laws of Thermodynamics. I cap the pen. Every major has its thing. It's a topic that's so fundamental or significant that there's a section on it in every single course. Say the words logos, ethos, or pathos to a literature major, and watch their eyes immediately glaze over. Psychology majors have mentally named one, if not all, of Pavlov's dogs. Physics majors have had Newton's laws of motion beaten into them like one beats a dead horse. And according to his third law, the dead horse beats them right back. I'm a psych major myself. I named the dog Maurice. But also a bio major, which means I have heard the term phospholipid bilayer more times than there are genes in C. elegans. None of this compares to the amount of times I've learned about the laws of thermodynamics in a chemistry course, and I've only taken 3 of them. First law, the board reads, energy cannot be created or destroyed. I vaguely wonder then where all my energy's gone. Second law, all natural processes increase the entropy or disorder of a system. My mind drifts to the tree in the garden with a giant tangle of thread hanging from one of the branches. That bunch of thread had to have been orderly once. It had to have been wrapped in neat lines around a spool or tucked securely into the hem of a t-shirt. That's certainly not the case now, and every gust of wind ensures further descent into disorder. I wonder how long it took for it to look like that. The universe supposedly has trillions of years before it reaches maximum entropy and, well, does whatever it'll do after that. String, I think, has got far less patience. I mean, look at earphones in a pocket or long hair on a windy day. Tangling is almost instantaneous. If the universe tends toward disorder, String is his most earnest disciple. I uncap my pen, scribble something for the first law, and then for the second law I write String. Probably won't remember what that means later when I review my notes for the exam, but that's okay. Well, I've gone over the laws of thermodynamics 6 more times before then, probably. Third law. At 0 Kelvin, the entropy of a perfect crystalline structure is 0.
The early morning winter sky is full of fading stars. I lean over and brush snow away from mounds of dirt where ants once swarmed. My gloved hand presses the cold hard ground. The ants are asleep beneath the earth, unaware of the stars fading above. They are so far away. The ants won't notice my presence as I step off the white mounds onto the snow-drifted sidewalks on my way to school. The ants burrow deep where it is warm, just like my blue coat with its yellow stripe keeps me warm. I crunch the ice and kick my boots in the snow. My right boot slips on the icy sidewalk near the street corner. I spill into the street, my other boot breaking the ice and slipping into the shallow water beneath. I fall on my butt, my jeans soaking with snow. I steady myself, clutching my coat tight to my chest. My breath is clouds of steam in front of my face. I sit there for some time, unable to move, frozen. There are no cars in the street, but I shudder anyway, shrinking into my coat. Before I know it, I'm at the school where teachers are waving their students to gather inside. Teachers usher in grade school children, feet squeaking on the linoleum floor, buzzing with excitement. They sit on cold metal chairs. The entire school is in one place. It's crowded. I wonder why we are here. Many of the teachers are here. It's a swarm of bouncing heads, giggling laughter, shuffling knees, and whispers of quiet from teachers. I'm seated in the center of the school gym behind the 4th graders. I haven't been listening again, or I've forgotten. My thoughts are pulled inward, inescapable. I think of the street and I look around. I must have missed what the presentation was going to be about. I try to pay attention in school, but sometimes I don't. Most days I just follow the body in front of me. I stay in line. We're so often in lines, moving from one place to the next. I'm one among many until the last bell.
The station children. Overnight, I became a mother. After the bombs rained down, angry tears from the sky. Thousands were incinerated in the streets. The trains stopped coursing through my veins after pieces of my body were burned and ripped open, oozing wounds. The children of Tokyo took refuge in my breast. Their faces smudged with soot, their lungs shriveled raisins. Smoke curled from their lips with each breath. Some were naked. Pieces of their skin, stripped down to the bone from the fire. Others wore tattered pieces of their clothes like badges of honor. They huddled against my broken ribs, searching for someplace warm to sleep, together but alone. Their sandpaper coughs echoed in the chambers of my lungs. They smelled of iron and kerosene. I lost half of them by morning. After the bombs came the intruders, flocking back to my body to run the trains again. They ignored the children made of smoke and skin, stepped over their bodies, cracks in my bones. The police took them to die somewhere else. Station children, they called them. As if to say, they were no one, but they were mine.
sweet tune, waking me from slumber, while light of sun replaces moon. Unknown caller, won't you appear? Don't be afraid of me, you really need not fear. Modestly, you hide from me, high up in the trees. Unknown caller, you are superior to me. Shadoo-da-doo-da-da, su-ba-da-boo-boo-da, da-doo-da-doo-da-dee-da, doo-dee-dee-doo-bee-boo-bee-doo, sa-doo-da-doo-da, see-dee-doo-dee-da-da-da, sa-doo-da-doo-dee-ah, shoo-dee-doo-bee-doo-dee-dum. Unknown caller, someday we will meet far above the trees. Someday we will meet. Unknown caller, someday we will meet far above the trees. Someday we will meet. I will hear your song again soon. I await your sweet tune.
He could have acquired anything, but he chose to buy your freedom, paid off debt of indentured servitude. Across an altar you joined lives. Across an ocean, current driving you from your homeland, you came here to become a good American. To accept a new life necessitated annulling your genes. Your beauty in a kimono, a tradition of generations of genes, subjugated by tailored dresses, the type you could buy at a department store. Your language shushed except a few words that still slipped. The pressure to alter, conform, so extreme once you arrived here post-World War II. Being from an enemy nation, the current social political viewpoint a recurrent reminder that your genes were different here. You were different here. You could buy cosmetics, dresses, home decor, but you could not buy anything that could conceal, alter your essence. The English you could now speak except for the pronunciation of R in your own name. Teroko. I hear your name brutalized by unfamiliar tongues. The exception was tea with other war brides you could sit by, chattering in your native language about current trends, families you left behind, the jeans your sons now wore, the dresses altered. You never saw your family in Japan again, once that altar joined you to an American. Here your sons were taunted for genes I hoped they were proud of. You didn't accept poor treatment of your children. The current of your anger stretched. Such sacrifice by my grandfather's side, by altering the current of your life, of mine, here in America. Grandmother, I accept your genes.
If you're going to be grumpy, I don't want to talk to you, was the last thing I said to my father on the phone from Las Vegas, a city full of cocaine cowboys I thought would save me, where I first fell in and made love with one in a thunderstorm as the July moon shone full. Laying on a plastic chair as water fell from the sky onto me and into the pool that I was spread out next to, worried lightning might strike me as fingers pushed into me and mouths pressed into fur. Palm trees where rat families lived shook in the wind, climaxing as electricity lit up the sky. 3 months later, a man fired more than 1,000 rounds out of a 32nd floor window during the Harvest Festival. Less than a week after our phone call, he passed away. His literal heart was too weak. Not like the first time, this time taking all of him with. I watched him give love to my mom despite all of the things she didn't do to deserve it. I wonder if all this giving was too much and his body wanted a way out. My mom came home from work to find him in a bathtub, his skin beginning to turn blue as a clear plastic shower curtain clogged the drain and flooded the floors. Big industrial fans were brought in, but it took time to dry. For weeks, every morning, as she got out of bed and planted her feet on the carpet, death water would wet them. I asked her what he looked like when she found him. She said he looked like he was sleeping, that she stroked his head and his beard as she said her goodbyes. I wanted to see him so bad, just one more time before he was turned to ash. I knew he wouldn't look the way he did. His big cheeks would no longer be flushed. The gleam I wouldn't be able to see with closed eyes, and the way they squinted when he smiled. I expressed this, sitting around a big wooden table, chairs arranged far apart, with my family and my sister's new boyfriend at the funeral home. My mom and grandparents decided it was best I didn't. We looked at necklaces that could hold a tiny amount of his new form. My sister and I wear our ash necklaces with remembrance now. My mom keeps the rest of him in a box somewhere tucked away in the trailer she shares with her new boyfriend. Desolate roads pass by dead horses and blinking red neon lights no longer. Nor do they pass by casinos heavens high, where men shatter golden windows to point automatic rifles at concert goers down below. They pass by potato fields and tribal burial grounds in my father's hometown. Men closer to his eternal age than my own hold me there. They laugh with me and help me get up when I fall over after too many lemonades, spiked with huckleberry vodka flavored with local fruits. Their bald heads feel smooth when my palms and fingers trace them. Their beards feel rough and remind me of how I think safety feels. I don't even mind their bellies. Sometimes they'll complain to me about their girlfriends or fiancés. Sometimes they'll swear to me they're going to leave. It's not your fault. It's been a long time coming. I'll hand myself over to them, and they'll kiss my pale skin like I swear it's never been kissed before, and for a little while, I'll pretend, even to myself, that I believe them. Being chosen sounds so nice.